Hi, this is Shirley Jones, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
You're my best girl, and nothing you do is wrong. I'm proud you belong to me.
Ed Robertson, author guest Ralph Senensky, longtime member of the Directors Guild of America, and a man whose work as a television director stretches from The Twilight Zone to multiple episodes of some of the most popular drama and comedy series of the 60s, 70s, and 1980s. Ralph is also an active blogger who has shared many great anecdotes and behind-the-scenes stories of his various experiences in network television. You can read about these at Senensky.com and Ralph-Senensky.blogspot.com. This particular conversation with Ralph originally aired in February 2014. Ralph Senensky passed away November 1st, 2025 at the age of 102. Ralph, we were talking off mic. You and I originally connected because of actor David Frankham, who you worked with both on the original Star Trek as well as earlier in your career at the Pasadena Playhouse. What I did not realize is that there is also a Partridge Family connection between you and David Frankham, and it has to do with an actress named Jennifer Raine.
Yes. Jennifer was in the circle with David at the Pasadena Playhouse when I was brought in.
Mm-hmm. And again, as the director, you have a say over the casting, and I understand that you didn't, in that particular case, you didn't feel Jennifer was right for that role.
I'm not sure if it was that. I mean, I was being brought in. The show had been in rehearsal. I never knew what the problem was. It had been a package that had been brought to the Playhouse. Estelle Winwood and whoever it was that was directing it. Miss Winwood, had appeared in Bond's The Circle in its Broadway debut in 1921. She had wanted for years to do a revival. She told me that she and Tallulah Bank had tried to put together a revival of it, and it never worked. And so she finally she wanted to then play the old Dowager that had been played in the original production by Mrs. Leslie Carter. And so they had brought it to the Pasadena Playhouse. It was accepted, and then for some reason, and I was never told why, I was asked to come in and take over for the direction with 2.5, I don't know how long they had been in rehearsal, but when I was brought in, there was 2.5 weeks left, and the show really it was in raw staging. I mean, it had not been staged. And I turned it down. Stanley Smith, the casting director of the Playhouse, called me on a Saturday to ask me if I would do it. And I was not comfortable with English high comedy. Mm-hmm. I had only done one in my life many years before I'd done a production of Noel Coward's play Spirit. And I just didn't feel like I was capable of doing it. And so I suggested somebody else, and Stanley called him, and he was not available. So he called me again, and so I agreed. I said, well, let me come in and hear the cast and just see what's there before I accept it. So I went in, and at that point, I had done a couple of plays with a lady that I just thought was a sensational actress with real Playhouse roots, Rachel Ames. Mm-hmm. Her parents were Dorothy Adams and Byron Bolger, both stalwart supporting players in film, but both of them really a part of the Pasadena Playhouse. And if I went in, I kind of wanted to have somebody that I knew, mm-hmm. Especially at the heart of it. And that was why. I mean, possibly Jennifer might have worked, but I just knew that I would feel more secure, especially Rachel at the heart of the show.
Especially since you were coming in pretty much at the last minute. So
yes, I mean, we worked afternoons and evenings, mm-hmm. and they had asked me, because Miss Winwood at that point was 78 years old, they asked if I would, in the evenings, not rehearse the play from beginning to end, but do her scenes to get her out early, so then I could go back and then do the other scenes that she was not in. And that's the way we rehearsed that play. And of course, she didn't go home. She went home and played bridge till the wee hours.
Now, for those who may not know, Jennifer Raine is the mother of Brian Forster. Brian Forster is the actor who played the second Chris on the Partridge Family. Now, fast forward 10 years later, you're doing the part. You did about 6 or 7 Partridge Families.
7.
You did 7 Partridge Families. The first show you did with Brian Forster, Jennifer was on the set because, as were all the mothers of the child actors, that could have been an awkward moment, but I guess that,
There wasn't. No, she was absolutely fine.
Yeah. And again, she's a professional. These things happen. So, but
Yeah.
The important thing at that time was that you help her son deliver a good performance, which you did on that show.
Yes. No, I wasn't sure if there would be a problem, and there absolutely was no problem. The subject was never brought up. That was kind of a fun show to do. There again, that was something different.
Yeah, it was different. I understand that staging the musical sequences on that show was something of a challenge for you, just on a practical basis.
Oh, no, the only challenge was that I didn't like the way they were doing it. The very first one I did, they had a stage set up. It was not a theater. It was like in a nightclub. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that a group of pre-teenage, kids would be playing a nightclub. To me, that kind of a group would be playing college campuses in auditoriums and on big stages. And it wasn't until, I don't know whether it was the third or fourth one, where I got a chance, and I said, well, I don't want to set, just, I want to shoot, and I was very honest. I said, I want to shoot like Orson Welles did when he did the opera sequence in Citizen Kane, mm-hmm. where he didn't have an audience, he didn't have a theater, he just shot from behind for his master, he shot from behind the performers into a bank of spotlights. And that's what I did, and it worked out beautifully.
Yeah, and again, that is visually interesting, which is, it's always a challenge, directing for television, because you've got to figure out ways to open up that box so that it's not just cookie cutter.
The second time that I had a chance to do it, well, I didn't want to do the same thing, so I talked to Freddie Jackman, the cameraman, and I asked if we could use a star filter mm-hmm. on those shots into the spotlights, which created a star effect. It was just a different effect, so it wouldn't look exactly like it had happened the first time. And the day after we shot that, after they'd seen the dailies, Paul Witt, I think that was his name, the producer, called to tell me how much that they liked the dailies, and then he said, tell Freddie Jackman that he thought the photography was great. And I said, well, why don't you tell him? So I called Freddie over to the phone, and Fred talked to him and came back, and he told me, he said, Paul wanted to know what kind of light he'd used to get that effect. And Fred said, I told him, they're just some of my own.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mariette Hartley, and you are listening to TV Confidential.
I would like to dedicate this next song to 2 very special people in our audience tonight. My mother and father. Many things have happened during the 40 years they've been married, but no matter what, they've always managed to love and understand each other. I think this song that Dad always sings to Mom will explain why.
We're talking to Ralph Senensky. Ralph's credits as a television director include episodes of such classic shows as The Paper Chase, Dynasty, Heart to Heart, The Waltons, 8 is Enough, The Rookies, Barnaby Jones, The FBI, The Fugitive, The Partridge Family, The Courtship of Eddie's Father, Route 66, Naked City, The Twilight Zone, and the original Star Trek. This particular conversation with Ralph originally aired in February 2014. Ralph Senensky passed away November 1st, 2025, at the age of 102. When Shirley Jones was on my program, Ralph, she joked that she only had 2 solo numbers as a singer during the 4 years she did Partridge Family. You directed one of the shows where she had a solo number.
With Ray Bolger.
And Rosemary DeCamp.
Rosemary DeCamp.
Yeah.
Playing her parents. I can't remember the number. Oh, I love doing that scene. I mean, to get direct Shirley Jones singing and Ray Bolger dancing, mm-hmm. That was a day made in heaven for a director.
Yeah, and again, being a film buff as you are, I mean, any opportunity you had to work with, living, breathing legends, whether it's a Ray Bolger, whether it's a Walter Pidgeon. I mean, as a fan, you relish that opportunity, to do that.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. I know we're running out of time. Before I forget, when we're talking about Richard Anderson, you mentioned he was a good actor, but he was kind of limited in what he had to do, particularly when he did stuff for Quinn Martin. He tended to be variations of the same authority figure. In a way, there's a parallel between what Richard Anderson did, on Quinn Martin shows and what Dave Madden was asked to do on the Partridge Family, because, and again, this is just one of the realities of the show. It was not the Dave Madden show. It was the Shirley Jones show. It was a show about the kids. But
I have to tell you something. Actually, I think that Dave was not as restricted as Richard was. Richard was restricted as Phil Abbott was on the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave, quite frankly, Shirley, although she was the star of the show, the comedy, I mean, she was the glue and the charm that held the show together. But the comedy of the show was Danny Bonaducci and Dave.
Yeah, where I was going with that is that he and Danny did variations of the same thing every week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, he was limited to a repetition of that, but it was still a little more fun than what Richard Anderson had to do as just an authority figure. And Dave at least had comedy, and comedy is harder work than it seems to be.
Yes.
The great story of Edmund Gwenn, who, when he was dying, or not dying, when he was living at the motion picture home, and George Seaton would come to visit him, and one day Mr. Gwenn said to him, now this is legend, I mean, other people have sometimes get credit for this line, but I like to think of it as being Edmund Gwenn. And at one point, Mr. Gwenn said to George, he said to Mr. Seaton, he said, George, dying's hard, but comedy's harder. And boy, does that ever sum it up?
It certainly did, but in the case of a Dave Madden, I mean, he had that rubbery face where he could just deadpan and you can get a laugh.
Absolutely. He was a wonderful comedian. But and even there, I mean, again, another classic story that I've read. Shirley Booth, who in her early years was, kind of the queen of Broadway in supporting roles, mm-hmm. but as a comedian. And the producers, when they were doing a play called Tomorrow the World, which was the first serious play about Nazis, where a professor in this country brings his nephew, who from Germany at the time of the beginning of the war, and this kid, Skip Homauer played it, had been indoctrinated by Nazism, and Shirley Booth was playing the Jewish fiancée of this professor, and they brought her in to read, and then they brought her in a second time to read, and they brought her in a third time to read, and finally, when they brought her in, they apologized and said, Shirley, we know you can play the part, but our fear is because you're so noted for your comedy that when you come out that the audiences are going to laugh. And Miss Booth said, getting a laugh is not that simple.
No, it's not. But she was able to do it. And while you were known for drama, you also left your mark in comedy, Ralph, on television. And unfortunately, we are up against the clock. I hope that one of these days you'll come back and we'll have another conversation about your work in television here on TV Confidential.
It will be my pleasure. This was fun, Ed.
Television director Ralph Senensky, from a conversation that originally aired in February 2014 here on TV Confidential. Ralph Senensky passed away Saturday, November 1st, 2025 at the age of 102. If you'd like to learn more about Ralph, we invite you to check out his online journal as a director, Ralph Cinematrek, which you can find at Senensky.com. Ralph includes many priceless behind-the-scenes stories of virtually every episode of all the various television series he directed in the course of his career. Ralph Cinematrek at Senensky.com. One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hi, I'm Teddy Lester, and you're listening to TV Confidential.
Ed Robertson with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will premiere next week on the station at the usual time. Please join us as we welcome back Allison Arngrim, the actress known around the world as Nellie Olson on Little House on the Prairie, and Mark Shaw, author of Abuse of Power, and the reporter who knew too much. Speaking of Allison Arngrim, Allison will be joining Dean Butler, Karen Grassley, Charlotte Stewart, Teddy Lester, many other cast members of Little House on the Prairie from the magical holiday Little House on the Prairie cast reunion at Strathern Historical Park, Simi Valley, California, Friday, December 12th through Sunday, December 14th. It is a festive 3-day event that will celebrate the Little House holiday spirit that has touched the hearts and minds of television audiences all over the world for 51 years and counting. Tickets and more information, Little House on the Prairie Cast Reunions.com. Little House on the Prairie Cast Reunions.com. Ed Robertson, Beth Tony Figueroa, Donna Allen, Phil Grice, and Susan Silver. Thank you so much for listening. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll talk to you next time on TV Confidential.